Hi everyone, Yasas que Carlos Tirtatet to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. Today we're going to be making Kataifi ice cream. It's so easy, perfect for a dinner party if you want to serve something simple that you can make days ahead of time and everyone is going to absolutely love. This is a dessert for you. I'm getting some help from the store by using store-bought vanilla ice cream, but if you can find ice cream that's flavored with either rose or mastic, that is going to be even better. I couldn't find those, so I'm just using vanilla. Plus, some of my kids don't like mastic, so that's why I'm just going to go plain. But there are so many options, and I will put them on the blog post. Let's get started. So Kataifi is a syrupy pastry that is so good. I've made a few different variations of it, and they're all going to be linked on the blog post if you want to see how to make different desserts with it. But with every syrupy dessert, you start off by making the syrup, and it's so easy to make. Go ahead and add 3 cups of granulated sugar with 2 cups of water to a pan. If you want to flavor the syrup with either rose or mastic, you can put some little pieces of mastiha in the syrup right now, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon or even up to a 1/2 teaspoon. Or if you have mastic liqueur, you can put that in at the end. But what you're going to do is bring this mixture to a boil first. Once the sugar has dissolved, take it off of the heat and stir in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract or your mastic liqueur or your rose water. If you're using rose water, a tablespoon will do. Set the syrup aside to cool completely, and then you can get started on making the Kataifi. You want to make sure that it's at room temperature, so take it out of the freezer and put it in the refrigerator overnight. And then leave it on the counter for about an hour or so that way it's easy to use. You can even pop it in the microwave for like 30 seconds. So what you're gonna do, I like to put a big piece of parchment paper on my work surface, or you can just do this on your counter, and separate the strands. And then take a 9 by 13 inch baking dish and just put all of the Kataifi strands in here. And I've melted 1/2 pound of butter. I'm just gonna pour it over the top. This is unsalted butter. And then just toss everything all together so the butter can pretty much coat as much of the Kataifi as possible. It's gonna help it become nice and golden and toasted and just give it lots of good flavor. And this is going to bake in a preheated 350-degree oven until it's nice and golden. That's going to take about 30-35 minutes. Once the Kataifi comes out of the oven and it's nice and golden and toasted, go ahead and pour all of that aromatic syrup on top, and you could even move it around so that way everything gets combined. I did go ahead and once the Kataifi came out of the oven, I broke it up a little bit. It's much easier to break up before the syrup is added to it. Let it come to room temperature and then pop it in your freezer, or if you're making this ahead of time, put it in your refrigerator and let it cool completely. You want it to be totally cool before it goes into the ice cream, otherwise it'll start melting it, right? And then before you start mixing everything up, make sure that your ice cream, it has been sitting at room temperature for 30 minutes, so that way it softens up and it's easy to mix together. All right, so now it's time to mix everything all together. I put 1/2 gallon of vanilla ice cream in my stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, you could do this by hand and just mix it all together. You want to make sure that the ice cream is softened. This is softened around the edges, but it's still kind of too frozen in the center. This does sometimes get messy. Oops. And here we go. The last time I made this, when I was testing it, I was in a real hurry and I had ice cream flying out of the mixer. Not fun. But in the end, the dessert was so delicious. And the cleanup took about 5 minutes. Okay, so before I add the Kataifi in here, I'm just gonna break up the ice cream a little bit and start on low. Okay, this looks like it's gonna stay put. Now, you can break up the Kataifi too, just cut it up with a knife, so that way it's easier to mix. And this is totally a matter of preference. It just depends on how much Kataifi you want in your ice cream. Everyone in my house likes it loaded with Kataifi, more Kataifi than ice cream. That's how they like it. So that I'm gonna put almost all of this in here. So while the mixer is on low, I'm gonna add the Kataifi a little bit at a time. And it's absorbed all of the syrup. Okay, I'm gonna put all of it in minus this little bit that I put in this plate, because I feel like that's too much and I could leave this for garnish for later on. And the ice cream is starting to melt, but don't worry, we're gonna put this back in the freezer and everything is gonna come together beautifully. And that's it. I'm just gonna transfer it right back into the same baking dish that it was baked in, but if you wanna put it in ice cream containers, if you have those, it's probably gonna fill 2 or 3 up. You can do that. But I find that it's really easy to serve out of here, and why wash this? But if you're gonna keep this in your freezer for a while, I would not freeze a ceramic baking dish like this. They tend to be expensive and they could crack in the freezer. So put it in something that's plastic or freezer safe, that would be better. I have also ground up some salted pistachios. I'm gonna sprinkle those on top. If you don't like pistachios, just leave them out, leave this plain. This is not traditionally served with pistachios in Greece. It's made with mastic ice cream and it's just so refreshing and delicious. But this is a great combination. So I'm gonna pop this back into my freezer so it could set a little bit and harden while I clean everything up. This should be frozen for at least 30 minutes or an hour, or however you like it. If you like it soft, serve it straight away right now, but it's kind of mushy and melted for me. So I'm gonna let it freeze a little bit, let the ice cream set up, and then I'll clean up in the meantime. Then we're gonna do the taste test. Okay, so we're gonna do the taste test regardless, even though the ice cream does need to set a little bit longer. Half an hour is definitely not enough. You do need a couple of hours for it to really firm up and just look like ice cream and have the texture of ice cream, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do the taste test anyway. Go ahead and scoop up a nice generous scoop of ice cream into a serving cup or a little trifle bowl, whatever you have, whatever you wanna serve it in. And I would sprinkle some more pistachios on top. I also love to serve this with my sour cherry preserves that I made the other day on the channel. I'll put the link down below so that way you can make them. If you don't want to make them, you can buy some at a local Mediterranean specialty food store. The combination of salty pistachios and the cream with the tangy cherries is just like nothing else before. Let's dig in. Oh my gosh, it looks like pudding right now. Combination is amazing. The salted pistachios add some crunch. So does the Kataifi. The Kataifi is perfectly toasted and slightly crisp. The creamy ice cream just tastes like heaven. The exact measurements are on the website www.dimitrasdishes.com. Head on over there to print out this recipe. If you want to learn how to make the sour cherry preserves, click over here and I'll see you right over there. Yes, sis.